Pick up a camera, shoot something, no matter how small, no matter how cheesy, no matter whether your friends and your sister star in it. Put your name on it as director. Now you're a director. Everything after that, you're just negotiating your budget and your fee. That's James Cameron. Ladies and gentlemen, and variations thereupon. Stop scrolling aimlessly. Heat up that sweet and salty popcorn. Grab that bottle of beer, wine or Dr. Pepper and get comfy on your sofa and enjoy this 4K IMAX 3D THX presentation of Modern Escapism. Welcome. My name is Big Cop Man, affectionately known as Biggie, and on today's pod I'm joined by a director known to be difficult to work with, a maverick, but amongst all of the chaos he creates, he delivers. It's Stig.
Hello, that is me nailed on that, to be fair. Definitely. Some people do call me Maverick behind my back, I think, sometimes.
So alongside him, I have a man known for his audio and technical accomplishments in cinema, even though he is blind as a bat. It's Gadget.
How dare you? How very dare you? But yes, my ears are my main selling point. Garrett?
And finally, a director whose on-set drinking antics are so truly legendary and yet somehow manages to deliver heartwarming cinematic masterpieces. It's Stig.
Oliver Reed ain't got shit on me. Hello.
How are you, all right?
I'm good.
So, before we move on, and get into the rest of the pod, I believe our Stig has prepared a statement that he'd like to read. So over to you, Stig.
Thank you, Biggie. Yes, so I do have a statement to read. Dear Modern Escapism listeners, 30 days or so ago we recorded what would be our first Christmas show. An extended show where all six of us got together, had a few drinks and did what we do best, talk. Unfortunately, there was an incident on the show and copious amounts of whiskey were drained by one member, myself. This resulted in not only a god-awful hangover that took me nearly a week to get over, but my most heinous of crimes to date. I didn't save my recording. Luckily, we have an expert in control of the editing, and Gadget was able to pull out a fantastic show with Zoom backups. So firstly, I'd like to apologise to Gadget for all the trouble I caused him. Secondly, I'd like to apologise to you, dear listeners. Not for the excessive swearing, or the increasing volume of my voice, the slurring or the talking over people, but for the sheer audacity of saying that Love Actually wasn't that bad of a film. I couldn't sleep with a sound conscious knowing that I'd said these words for all the world to hear, so I had to make amends, and for that I apologise. And finally, since the show was released, there's been a lot of chatter about being stigged. Something I tried to rally against to start with, but have come to accept. So I welcome being stigged as a thing with open arms. I've had a lot of time to soul search and ponder the future, and I know sooner or later there'll be a time for me to retire the whiskey. So tonight, right here on Modern Escapism, in front of my esteemed cohorts and all you listeners, I have to announce that I will never retire the whiskey. I will only retire the whiskey when I'm dead in this chair. I love the whiskey. It's going nowhere. Woo! Stigged for life. Thank you very much for listening. And now back to your regular scheduled programming.
Wow.
Fucking hell, Stig.
Stig's views do not represent the entirety of the Modern Escapism brand.
But we will be using Stigged mercilessly for the rest of time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
In fact, to the point the listeners have started doing that, which I love.
And I for some reason, I did watch Love Actually the day after that pod recording, and apology not accepted, Stig. It's bloody awful. I'll never forgive you for that.
Me and Pip were mucking around yesterday, and she would randomly doing impressions and like just saying silly voices and stuff like that. And she did pull out the we got you, we fucked you something rotten. Like, you shouted out a Secret Santa gift.
Oh dear.
Well, during Christmas, when my wife tried to get me to watch Love Actually, I managed to turn it around and watch Die Hard. So there you go.
Good. You did well there. Yeah, I woke up the next day thinking I'd blacked out because I couldn't remember recording. No, I could remember everything we'd done. I just couldn't remember doing the Inquisition. And I was like, I can't remember the Inquisition. I have no idea what I've said or anything. And then obviously watching it back and listening back, I was like, oh, I wasn't even there because I just logged off because I was so drunk.
In fact, that's a good point, because normally when any of us go out and get absolutely twatted, people don't generally film the whole event, so you rely on other people telling you what happened, but we actually had the entire recording of everything that happened to you.
Yeah, that was some torturous watch back.
Can you look that coffee mug in the eye after this? The one that you poured 3 shots of your whiskey into and downed in one gulp?
Oh, yeah. Like I said, I promised I'd use it. I'm working from home again. I've used it every day for my cup of tea.
I also can't help but notice that you're wearing the same T-shirt that you wore on that night.
Am I?
Yeah, I think you might be, yeah.
Maybe I just haven't got changed since.
Or stopped drinking since that night.
Still got sick down it.
So, moving swiftly on, thank you for that, Stig, I think. So, taking us on a journey, like Marty McFly, going back in time, it's Doomy.
Yeah, so we've had quite a good response this week. First one from Derek P. at the See It Through podcast. Regarding the Xmas show, I know I'm a day late and a few drinks short, but I was nursing a pretty great New Holland beer barrel bourbon for my Christmas libation.
That's not easy to say.
Very nice.
Absolutely love having this on YouTube to listen to while I'm chained to the office chair during the work week. Great job, gents.
Thanks very much.
Thanks indeed. Next up is Monk's Boy on Discord. Just finished this week's pod. It's a solid 12 out of 10. High praise, indeed.
Absolutely.
Angry Kurt says, if I were Jeebus and thought my product was going to make £52 billion, I would front the risk myself and take out the 100k. I was laughing out loud at the whole pitch.
Yeah, the money didn't make sense on Jeebus' pitch, really, did it?
I don't think the money made sense on anyone's pitches, really. But
well, true.
It was very entertaining to listen to.
Well, yeah, but £100,000 investment to make 52 billion back. That's a lot, shall we say?
Sneaky at I Am Sneaky. Listened through it last night. Excellent Dragon's Den piece. Got me thinking, however. I wonder if any of the escapists could actually get an invention patented. Would go a long way to funding the show. Thanks for helping me get through COVID. Keep up the great work.
Yes, bless him, Sneaky. He is full of the COVID at the minute.
Get well soon.
I wonder, could we put our brilliant minds together and come up with our own invention? We'll have to give it some thought.
I think that's where it falls over at the post, isn't it?
I'll have my sweet cut of £52 billion though, if that's on the table.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'll front a bit of money for that. Nice little return, that.
Yeah, I've got a tenner in my wallet, I think.
Next up, we've got Dan at Tree Smurf. Absolutely love this concept. Definitely think it might be worth revisiting at one point. Hashtag holidays.
I love the idea of it, like, it's a virtuality thing. You can go on the holiday and we can bring the holiday to you in your home, and then it's like, okay, all right, how's he going to pitch this? And it was just like, but it's a bit shit. It's just a picture. It's just this. It's just that. It's like it's just looking at Google Earth images then on a VR headset, isn't it?
I think it ended with the Jeebus saying, I'm just squinting with one eye at a camera on my phone or something, a picture on his phone, Yeah.
I'm entirely 100% convinced that Oodles only put that pitch together probably at the last minute just so he could say holidays over and over again.
he had the name before the idea. It's like, right, what idea can I come up with now?
Terrestrial Extra at Terrestrial Extra. Cracking pod leads. It's a shame there was only one censored suggestion, from the listeners, but you were right. It was probably due to the time of the year. Personally, when I saw the request for ideas, I was post-stigged. There's an idea. Instant hangover cure. By the way, flowers for Algernon. Finished, and I also bought it for my mum for Xmas. We both loved it. Thumbs up.
Great. I could have done with an instant hangover cure. Definitely.
More whiskey.
I mean, you could have done with a 1-day hangover cure by the sounds of it.
Oh God, it was bad.
Okay. Christopher Love, Dead Pete Punk, has emailed us. Hello, Motown excavationists. I was too slow to type it up last week, but I had a business idea to present to the board of ME Dragons. January is a busy month for the punk household. We have 8 birthdays to arrange, far too soon after the winter solstice period, so people who were hard to make purchases for over the holidays are doubly hard to buy for now. This was especially difficult before internet times, when the shops would be cleared due to New Year's sales. Remember those? So I have been in the same predicament as many of you on a gift-giving occasion. What do you get the person that has everything? Well, no matter what you may possess, there is always some cunt needing to get slapped in the face. Deadbeat Punk Industries have a network of highly trained pugilists that guarantee to deliver the perfect slap to the person you dislike the most. We provide you with video, photos, GIFs, and a FLAC file of the actual slap, which you can use as a message tone. Slaps come with full warranty on speed, impact, hand imprint, and of course, sound. We take pride in the service we deliver, and if you're not completely satisfied, you'll get a slap thrown in for free too. There is a pricing scheme reflective of the prick getting the face 5, the racist neighbours or arseholes buying scratch cards for 20 minutes, explaining why they're buying each one and when they have won with that card previously, before scratching them all at the till. They're Tier 1 targets. Bosses in management are Tier 2. There is usually travel and security details to work around, slightly more difficult than your common piss stain. Now Tier 3 is a premium service and works similar to Kickstarter. Normally a lot of people pay as a group for one target. Our first Tier 3 subject was funded for a complete 304% last year, far surpassing our expectations. So hopefully soon we will be providing footage of Jamie Oliver getting whiplash from a perfectly executed jaw relocator. The funds generally go toward our staff members, as sadly, there may be a bit of prison time involved in the job. Although we have a great legal team that are also trained in violence to avoid this as much as possible. We wish to expand our operations. We have Ireland pretty well covered, but are aware of how many people in America need slapped. Seems to be a goldmine waiting to happen. So we are looking for funds to begin international services. As well as offering stock options, you will receive up to 10 free slaps to distribute throughout the year. Best of all, as a shareholder, you will be exempt from any future slaps, offer not available to oodles. Thanks for your time, Deadbeat Punk, Director of Love Shack Slaps.
Brilliant.
I mean, I'm in straight away. I mean, this is a great business.
I think that's the £52 billion idea.
Yep.
You think?
Oh, yeah. There's...
The thought that went into that. Brilliant.
Yeah, I love how much effort Deadbeat Punk puts into his emails. It's so good.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Demi. And a lovely bit of feedback from a lot of people. So, yeah, really appreciate it. So, I guess it's time to have a look at what our cast's previous work has been in the Nexus. So, I'll go to you first, Stig.
Oh, me first. Firstly, obviously, we've had a bit of a break. A couple of recommendations I want to throw out there. If you haven't been watching The Mandalorian, I watched the whole of season 2 over Christmas. Much enjoyed it, a lot more than the first season. But yeah, I thought season 2 was brilliant. Really enjoyed it. It looks absolutely stunning as well. It's probably like the best TV show I've ever seen, like in terms of how it looks. Also, a film called Wolf Walkers, which is on Apple TV. It's by Cartoon Saloon, who did Song of the Sea and Secret of Kells. It's just a really good film, really brilliant film, really stunning. My kids watched it again today. So they've watched it a couple of times now, but they're both two things that I would recommend heartily. But the main thing that I have been doing is I have watched Attack on Titan. So, this is a manga anime. It's an adaptation from a manga graphic novel of the same name. It was released in 2013, and season 1's on Netflix, but the rest of it you have to get on Crunchyroll, and they're currently on season 4 at the moment. I started this on the 30th of December, and by the 4th of January, I'd watched all 25 episodes of season 1 and all 12 episodes of season 2. Like, I smashed through this like at Oodles pace, because it's just it just keeps wanting, like, giving you more and more. Every episode ends with something where you're just like, oh, now I need to see the next episode. So if you don't know what it is, it's basically it's set in a world where the last surviving members of humanity live inside these cities, surrounded by huge, enormous walls. They have this outside wall, and then inside that is a lot of like smaller communities like farmland and woodland and small villages. And then the further you get in, there's another wall, which inside that's a town. And then you get to the center, there's a central wall, and inside that's like, where the king lives, and it's like a citadel kind of thing. So, but this thing is huge. It's not like a few miles wide. Like the thing covers like such a vast area, and these walls are there to keep out what's known as titans. These are huge, gigantic, man-eating humanoids that range from like 6 meters to 20 meters tall. The story follows a young man called Eren Yeager, who, after watching a titan destroy his hometown and witnessing the death of his mother, vows to kill every titan. The typical revenge. He vows to kill every titan that he comes across. And with that, him and his two friends, Mikasa and Armin, vow to join the Scouts, group of elite fighters whose job is to protect humanity and kill titans. The titans are horrific. They are really horrible, weird looking. So they kind of have a human form, but they're all out of proportion. So some of them will have like really long bodies with like tiny heads, and then others will have like these really squat bodies with massive heads and massive eyes and huge mouths. And they're all really weirdly out of proportion. And like I said, they're really horrible to look at. They've got this dead stare that they just pick up and kill humans. And the way they do that is it's such a brutal show. But yeah, I got so drawn into it. I'd watched One Punch Man. I was like, oh, do you know what? I really enjoyed that. I'm going to watch a few more of the animes that I've got on my watch list. So I thought I'll watch Attack on Titan. And yeah, like I said, I was up till like 2 o'clock in the morning on a couple of nights because I'd be watching it. And then the episode would end with a cliffhanger. And I'd be like, oh, I should go to bed. That was such an amazing cliffhanger. I need to watch the next episode. And I just kept doing it. And there was points where I was like, right, I have to go to bed now. And there's the first season's kind of told in these little small chunks of stories. So there's like one that's like 3 parts, and then it moves on to like this next bit of the story, which is 7 parts. So I kept watching till like, right, it's the end of the story now. That's not a cliffhanger episode. Go to bed. But yeah, I think it's really great. They've got some brilliant characters in it. Mikasa is an amazing female character. She's proper badass, like takes zero shit from anyone, takes down titans with like such ease. And his other friend Armin's more of a strategist. So between the three of them, you've got one who's strategist. That is the word I was looking for. Between the three of them, you've got one who's like amazing at taking titans down, one who's literally fueled by rage and revenge, and the other one who can think up good plans and ideas to take them down. And then the rest of the characters as well, like they don't take a back seat. So these are your 3 main characters, but the variety of characters outside the main 3 get focused on a lot as well. So even though it's like centered around them, it never treats other characters as like secondary. So you have a lot of storylines to get to know them as well. But because it's such a brutal show, it's one where you don't get attached to anyone, because these titans will literally snatch people out of the air like that.
So you approach it applying Game of Thrones logic to this, like don't get too invested in one particular character, or Yeah, no one's safe. No one's the hero, so to say.
Yeah, like the scouts are awesome. Like they're equipped with these like fighting gears called it's an omnidirectional mobility gear. So it's ODM for short, and that allows them to like fight in 3D spaces. So it's like a harness that has these wires on that fling out, grab onto walls, and they can kind of zoom along on these zip lines and fling themselves up and around the Titans. Because the only way to kill a Titan is to chop out the nape of the neck. Otherwise, anything else that you do just regrows. So even if they chop the head off, the head comes back. You've got to hit it in the right point of the neck. So the ability of the scouts, they have to be able to like fight in the air basically. So they're flying around on these things. But it's just like the way that the action's done with that is really cool. The animation's really good. And I'm now on to season 3 of it, and you can tell like the budget's kind of shot up a lot in season 3. Like it looks a lot crisper and cleaner, especially during the ODM sequences and the action sequences.
How many seasons are there?
It's currently on season 4. Season 4 is now streaming weekly on Crunchyroll, but I'm going to wait till it's all out because, yeah, the thought of watching them, they're only 20 minutes long, so the thought of watching one and then ending in a cliffhanger and having to wait another week, it's like, nah, I'm 6 episodes into season 3, so I'm going to wait until season 4 is all out and then finish that off.
Are you tempted to play the game?
Yeah, I'm going to look at the game. Apparently, I should just play the second one because it kind of covers the first 2 seasons anyway. And you can create your own characters and stuff in it, so I might have a look at playing the second one when I've got a chance. But yeah, it's very anime. Like, you know, there's a lot of in a monologue shouting, overacting, rallying speeches.
Big lines.
Yeah, rallying speeches, emotional music cues. But it all works. It's all really good. Like, if you really enjoy anime stuff, and especially action and horror types, then this is really good. Like,
I'm surprised there's only 4 seasons of it. Like, something that I've been aware of. Like, I don't really watch anime or into manga or anything like that, but I'm very aware of Attack on Titan. And I kind of, like, seen this for how long it's been in pop culture. Like, I thought it was like something like One Piece where there's 14 billion episodes of it or something like that. Like, I thought it was a really long-running thing. I'm really shocked that there's only 4 seasons of it.
I think it's quite close to the graphic novels. As far as I'm aware, like, they started in 2009. The show, the first season was 2013. Then there wasn't another series till 2017. So I don't know if it, like, took off as well as they hoped. Because then the next season's only 12 episodes long. And then the next season's 25 again. So I think that's maybe they're just doing what the books are, because I think they're finished now. But yeah, it's really good. Like, it's not just like action horror. There's loads of other stuff going on in it. It's like, you know, all this like subterfuge, political grandstanding. There's family secrets, uprisings, and all there's just loads of different things like thrown into the mix. There is things that happen that are so left field that you'll just be like, what the fuck has just happened there? Like, it just comes out of nowhere, but it's great. Like, there's a few moments in season 1, you just like, I finished the episode and I was just like, what the fuck? How did, like, no, that doesn't make sense. What? And it's like, I have to watch the next episode now to know why that's just happened. But yeah, it's one of those shows that just leaves you wanting more every time you watch an episode. So
it sounds like it's got an end as well.
Yes, that's a good thing. 4 seasons with an ending.
So, like, how much is like Crunchyroll?
It's free. Crunchyroll's free with an ad-based system, so you can watch it on that. But there's adverts. So,
all right, didn't know that.
Thanks for that, Stig. So, Gadget, moving on to you, sir.
So a couple of things. Firstly, briefly want to talk about a game I've been playing, which isn't Cyberpunk. It's called Horace.
Ah, great.
Which a lot of people were talking about over Christmas because it was on sale on the Switch for £1. It's the best quid I've spent in a long time. Horace is a 2D platformer for the Switch. I think it's on the PC as well. Made by one bloke. It's set in early 80s, mid 80s, something like that. You play as Horace, who is a robot who has been made by a very rich man, mad professor kind of guy, but he's referred to as the old man. And he is telling you the story of his life. You go from being being switched on to like being tested, being asked to do various menial tasks and that kind of thing. And then there is the plot moment, which I won't spoil, and then everything gets a lot darker. And it's a fucking brilliant game. It's a 2D platformer, which at first felt very much like a Mario platformer because Horace has got some great momentum behind him. You have to spend a lot of time like controlling very precise jumps to get over things. It also applies kind of that Celeste way of working where you die quite frequently, but you've got infinite lives and it's a very quick respawn back to the beginning of the room. But so you get so far into it and then you get these gravity boots which let you walk at walls. And that presents some very strange things because not only can it walk you up walls, but it actually shifts the world's gravity. So Horace is always in the right direction. So if you walk up a wall and jump off it, you will fall down relative to where you jumped from. If that makes sense? Not fall down to the absolute gravity, but to the gravity of where Horace would fall based on his orientation. And it takes you a little while to wrap your head around that. But it's fucking brilliant. It's absolutely mad. So all the story is delivered from Horace's perspective. It's like he's telling you the story of his life. So his voice is done with a text-to-speech thing. So it's all digitized. But that means also the dialogue from the other characters digitized because Horace is saying, the old man said this to me, and we'll recite the lines. But Horace is really innocent because he's a brand new robot and he doesn't know sarcasm or kind of brutality or anything like that. But the people around him are some of them are really fucking awful, and you have to deal with some very strange scenes or it's like strange bits of dialogue, or really kind of concerning bits of dialogue. Because I don't want to spoil this. I don't really want to like get into the details of it. But like, so a character will say something really heinous or really awful, and then Horace will recite that back to you. He says, "But I didn't really know what that meant," and stuff like that. And it's really funny and engaging. There are some really interesting kind of mini games and side quests in it. It's worth picking up. It's not very expensive on the eShop right now, in general, because it's an indie game. But it's made by one person. It's very British. There's a lot of kind of early 1980s references in it. Lots of Ford Capris lying around for some reason. It's very much worth looking into. So if you've got a Switch, you've got a PC, get on Horace. It's really, really good. But the main thing I want to talk about this week is something that's brilliant, something that puts a bit of joy into this world. And it's Awesome Games Done Quick. Now, I talked about Summer Games Done Quick early on in the podcast, I believe. But Awesome Games Done Quick is the winter version. If you don't know what Games Done Quick is, it's a week of speedrunning. Speedrunning through games for charity. The one they do in the winter, the Awesome Games Done Quick one, is for the Prevent Cancer Foundation. And it's a 24/7 stream, lasting over 7 days, of just constant speedruns, of people just trying to beat video games as fast as they can. And it's a wonderful showcase for this kind of niche area of video game enthusiasm. And it raises a lot of money for awesome charities. So some stats on this one, this week, they raised, because it finished today as of recording, so it finishes on the Sunday, the donation total was $2,763,572 raised in a week.
Nice.
The largest donation they received, which I like that they put the stats out, because their average donation's about $25 across all the people who donate. The largest donation they received was $187,000. One person donated that.
One single donation.
One single
Jeez.
donation. Well, I probably assume it's like that's probably a corporate donation or something like that. But yeah, that's a
strange amount,
ridiculous
though,
donation.
It's a bit of a weird specific amount.
Well, no, it'll be converted from whatever it was. So it'll be like £200,000 or something, or whatever.
What game was being speedrun when that got donated? Do you know?
I don't know. I'm just looking at the stats on the page. I would love to find out because I'm assuming they probably would have had to stop what they were doing.
Yeah, I'd imagine so.
I think it was me doing Dark Souls. I think you'll find.
But yeah,
getting you to stop.
It's too slow, Biggie. You've spent 2 hours on one boss. People can beat this game in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's something that I've followed for quite a long time. I kind of always buy the T-shirt, and I always kind of give them a bit of hype on Twitter and stuff like that. It's a really, really wonderful thing. And even with COVID going on, like normally they kind of take over a hotel somewhere for the week, and they've got like a huge in-person crowd, and everyone's kind of together, and it's this wonderful kind of collection of gamers getting together. Obviously, you can't do that with COVID, so they migrated it to be online. and it runs pretty seamlessly. Like, I was watching it for on and off for most of this past week. There was only a couple of times where anyone had any like lag issues, or they couldn't hear the announcers or the commentators. So it really, really well done on them, on the technology, and on the kind of still they managed to maintain the presentation and the high production values, even when people haven't used, their own webcams and their own microphones, rather than having like a pro camera crew setup. But obviously, as I'm talking about it now, as the audience as the listeners will be listening to this, it's finished. But if you go onto the Games Done Quick YouTube channel, they basically archive all 157 runs from the week, and they're all up there to watch. And I want to give you a couple of highlights. First one is Punchy's run of Silent Hill 3, because I love Silent Hill 3. It's a wonderful game, terrifying in places. But what you don't realize is that game is held together with sticky tape and chewing gum. Like, that game is so broken. And Punchy's run on the PC version of it, he basically, there are points, he manages to skip the entire of the shopping mall sequence by walking out of bounds. And he just walks out the exit of the level. And stuff like that, or like clipping through enemies, or kind of abusing invincibility frames to the ridiculous degree. It's a really, really funny run to watch because he just keeps popping in and out of the world. Someone did, and I can't remember the names of all the people who do them because it's all screen names. It's worse than us. The run of Hades, which was a kind of a donation incentive. Someone beat through Hades in an hour, which, wow. I mean, that was most of everybody's game of the year last year. And just watching someone power through, it's a specific challenge run they were doing, so they basically unlocked all of the weapons and all of the aspects, and it was like a 3-weapon run, so it was basically completing doing complete runs 3 times.
So for context, how long does Hades normally sort of approximately take, an average?
So an average run of Hades, like for me, I still haven't actually escaped on Hades, but basically getting to the last boss, I've never done it in under 45 minutes. So they managed to do 3 runs in just over that time, which is impressive by anybody's measure. But the just best one, the one that absolutely everybody must watch, and I put this in our Discord because it's incredible. A lad did a blindfolded speed run of Super Mario 64. So not only is he speed running it, he beats the game in 40 minutes. But he's doing it with a blindfold on and relying on audio cues and very precise movements and precise controller inputs. Like, watching that, it's astonishing to see that he manages to get even into fucking Peach's castle at the start of the game without being able to see what's on screen. It's honestly...
That's some Jedi mind shit right there, that is.
It is. It's like, how many thousands of runs has he done to perfect that? That's honestly, it's unbelievable watching it. So I would, even if you don't like get into speedrunning or get into Games Done Quick, seriously look for Awesome Games Done Quick 2021 Super Mario 64 on YouTube, because honestly it's astoundingly good and one of the strangest and best things I've ever watched.
I can't figure out how someone would do that. Just
no
2D games, I can get it. You could run across, right, it takes me X amount of seconds to get to that point, and then I jump, and then this point, like, you could time it, but like, if you're out by a tiny fraction in a 3D game, you jump in the wrong way.
Exactly. In fact, the best part of that run is there was 2 times where he got himself turned around and he got a bit lost, and without taking his blindfold off, managed to find his way back to where he was supposed to be.
Wow, that's crazy.
Which I think is even more impressive. Yeah. Like his knowledge of the layout of each level, and his knowledge of the audio cues, and because as well, I mean, the game's got stereo audio because the N64 had stereo audio, but it's not that good. It's not surround sound. Like you only have your left and right direction to work out where you are in your headphones. So it's just so damn impressive.
I mean, I've had someone beat me at Street Fighter 2, I think it was, with using Zangief behind their back. And that was embarrassing to lose to that, and he was doing all the powerbomb moves and stuff like that. And so I haven't really lived that down. But I mean, the whole concept of this is just alien to me, to invest that amount of time into games to understand how they work that way. Just incredible stuff.
I tend to watch the like Mario sort of 2D Mario World, Mario 3 speedruns that they do, or the like ROM hacks that they run in them.
Yeah.
They're short, and it's just good how they manipulate things. Like they sort of clip through walls, and how they manipulate the items in the game to sort of give them a little boost, or skip several levels on things like that. It's just really interesting.
Yeah, it's amazing to see stuff like that. Like the ones I prefer tend to be like the glitchless runs, because like abusing glitches is a skill in itself and kind of breaking a game in a way that suits you. But I like the ones where it's like pure skill. Like I love any speedrun of Celeste. Oh god, they're so good because it's just pure motion. Like it's someone who understands completely the layout of each level. And that's a hard game even if you know the layout of the level. It's so unforgiving. But like being able to platform that smoothly and that effortlessly is just great. But I keep telling myself I want to learn to speedrun. But the problem is I can never find a game that I want to put that much time into. The closest I've ever come to is Dark Souls, and I can get to basically past where Biggie is in his streaming series in under 30 minutes.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me.
That's the best I can do. But that's that's no reflection on you, but it's more that I've played the game that many times, and you memorize where things go. It's like learning a hard song on Beat Saber or Guitar Hero or something like that. It's just getting that muscle memory in. It's like games like that, you know exactly where all the enemies are going to be, so you can kind of run around them, and you know how to beat the bosses quickly. You know what items to use and that kind of thing when you played it enough. They're
so laid back as well. Like I watched Mitch Flowerpower, he's a Mario speedrunner.
Oh yeah, I've seen him. Yeah,
did a ROM. He ran a ROM hack last night. Super Orb Brothers, it was called, this ROM hack, a Mario 3 ROM hack, and he got the world record in it, and it's just so laid back when he's playing it, just chatting with the co-commentators and things like that. And it's just, I'd be like glued to the front of my TV, not moving, like an inch away from my screen. And it's just like them, it's like, it's nothing.
Oh yeah, that's one other thing I'll end off with on it as well. There was another one worth looking up, is the Sonic 1 run, which was, of all things, played on Android. I didn't even know there was an Android version of it, but anyway. Flying Fox, she accidentally got a world record in it. And she wasn't expected to be on world record pace or anything like that. And she'd buggered up a couple of bits as well, so she was just kind of goofing around. But she must have played a few sections so perfectly that she scored a world record at the end of it, and her reaction is priceless because she genuinely she didn't think she was on world record pace, so she wasn't expecting it. And it's just this quite wonderful little moment. And again, that's on, if you search for the Sonic 1 run from this year on their YouTube channel, it's there and it's well worth watching. But
so can you speedrun Final Fantasy VII? I'm asking for a friend.
You can actually.
Yeah, you can.
Someone did it on Summer Games Done Quick, I think, a couple of years ago. They did it in 9 hours, I think.
Wow.
And in fact, I am just going to actually look up the record for it. Record Fantasy
There aren't many
7.
games you can't speedrun, to be fair. It seems like there's every game's been done or attempted at some point.
Okay, so the world record in Final Fantasy VII is held by Zeal, who is American. He did it on the PS2, and he did it in 6 hours, 59 minutes, and 9 seconds.
Fuck shit. Off. Is that game like 100 odd hours long?
Yeah. That's not off disc 1 yet.
Yeah, he just went straight to disc 4.
Just inserted it.
Load previous save.
Yeah. So that's the any percent world record.
Wow.
The all bosses world record, so that's hitting everything, including the Ultima weapons and stuff like that, is the world records held by Anjeb174, and that is 9 hours, 8 minutes, and 42 seconds. So that's doing more than you need to finish the game, and still managing it in just over 9 hours. So, yeah, quite insane.
Well,
awesome games done quick. Check it out. It's so good.
Thank you so much for that. So, Doomy, over to you.
Well, I've been what I've been up to is pretty much things that have already been talked about either this week or last week. So I've finished Cobra Kai Season 3. I think Oodles talked about that last week.
Mm-hmm. You did.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I love that show. It's so good. It's so cheesy, but it's so good. And like just having the original cast. I know, I don't know why that blows me away, but because it's not like they were doing anything else, is it? To be fair,
surprised Rick Moranis wasn't in it.
It's just, hey, you never know. No spoilers, but there's a thing in it though that it always just like makes me laugh. Do you know when like in like sort of TV series when the sort of acting on like playing a football game, or soccer in this case. And it's so obvious that none of the actors have ever played soccer. And then when it's being played out on the pitch, it's just like, it's just the funniest thing you'll ever see. It's just,
I don't think any film or does football properly ever, do they? Like,
it'd be like us doing American football or something, isn't it? It'd be like, we wouldn't know what we were doing.
It's just, I don't know. Every time they do it, it's like, why do it? It just looks so lame. just leave it out completely. But yeah, so I've watched that. That's excellent. I've been playing a lot of Destiny with Jeebus. My relationship with that game is a lot different to his. I've still put hundreds of hours into it, but that's probably about 1% of what he has. The lore and the story, I have not got a clue what's going on in it.
I didn't when I played it originally.
I just like the shooting and doing the dungeons and the raids and Crucible PvP stuff. My sort of experience of playing Destiny these days is Jeebus will sort of text me and say, "Oh, we've got to go and do this thing." So I'll jump on and I'll go, "Right, you've got to go and get this," and then we'll go here, we'll shoot these, we'll go here, we'll get this, we'll go get this bounty. We'll go and get this quest, and it's like, yeah, whatever, mate. Do I get a gun at the end of this? Yeah, you get a machine gun. Brilliant. And then I get my machine gun. I get my machine gun or my sniper rifle, and I never use it ever.
It sounds exactly like my experience.
Yeah, but it's great. I love it. It's brilliant.
It's a good shooter. It is.
It really is fantastic. And the only other thing is I've been playing Horace as well, Biggie gadget. I paid £1 for it. It's worth the £10 that it, full price.
Yeah,
because there's so much game in that, like for the price. And it's so like when it like sort of. Would you describe the platforming as sort of kind of like Celeste?
Yeah.
But not.
It's like Mario meets Celeste.
Yeah, kind of.
Because it's got that Mario movement, but with the Celeste punishment.
Yeah, and the sort of maps are a bit more open, so you've got a bit more time to breathe in certain areas of it, I think. But it's still really difficult. But also, it's like there's a lot more sort of varied gameplay in it. Like there's a bit of Metroidvania in there, some like little driving sections and. A lot of nods to other things like popular culture and things from the 80s and the 90s.
Yeah.
When you was talking about the sort of gravity boots where you can walk on the walls and the ceilings, did you ever at any point sort of go upside down and then jump off? So you sort of there was nothing underneath you to land on, so you just sort of shoot up into space.
Yes, I've done that before. Yeah,
I was like, "What the hell's going on here?" And he's just like floating off into space.
Yeah, I did that. I did that by accident once and found a whole new area. That was fun.
Oh, really?
Yeah, somehow didn't die in the process as well.
But I'm getting like massive Spectrum vibes from playing it.
It's got that look and feel, isn't it?
It has, yeah, and it's sort of very sort of. I know a lot of games in the sort of 80s on the Spectrum that were just made by one guy in the bedrooms, weren't they?
Yeah.
It's just got that feel about it.
Yeah, I've seen screenshots.
In a really good way, though. Do you know what I mean? I just feel like I'm playing a Spectrum game when I'm playing it.
Yeah, no, I can appreciate that.
I love the humour. I love the British humour in it, and I had no idea what any sort of like American people must be thinking when they're playing this game, because like some of the jokes in it, some of the characters, like people like I don't know, Steptoe when he pops up in it.
Oh yeah, it's his step-toe chip where he's got to clean up rubbish all the time.
Yeah, just like little references to that. It's like I don't know, may go over quite a lot of people's heads. That even people like from the UK and from that era. But I love it. It's so good.
I went to school with Steptoe.
Which one, the senior?
Yeah.
Albert, yeah. I really think it's going to be up there in my like game of the years. This one for £1 as well. I didn't think it was going to be that good.
10 days into January and we've got a game of the year contender.
Yeah, I think I've nearly finished it.
I think I'm about halfway through. I've just started chapter 7.
Okay, yeah, I think I'm on like 17 at the minute.
Oh, Christ, there's that many of it. Bloody hell.
But
it's a long game.
it is, yeah. Like, it's surprising, really. But I've been loving it, absolutely loving it. Yeah, get it. I don't think it's £1 anymore, unfortunately.
No, the sale ended over New Year.
So, yeah, I think somebody mentioned on Twitter or on the Discord that it was given away on the Epic Game Store at some point. So it might be worth checking your library in case you picked it up and forgot about it before you buy it. But yeah, that's what I've been up to.
Oh, cheers, buddy. Thanks very much. So I guess it's over to me. You'll all be glad to hear that I am currently still playing Final Fantasy VII. I've actually got the furthest I have in years. And I'm currently at Rocket Town, where you get to meet Sid. So that's where I'm at the moment. So really enjoying getting into that. And I had a very, very brief discussion with this with Gadget earlier in the week. And it's just something about that game is just charming. So if anyone's never played it before, I suggest you do check it out if you do have it or can get it, because it is a really old school RPG, Japanese RPG, I should say, that has its weird quirks and bits and pieces to it, but something about it I just find really charming, and it's like a comfort game for me, and I do like playing it. I've also been watching The Shield. Someone pointed out to me the other day that it was on Prime. I think it might have been Kurt, Best Boy. So I went back and started watching The Shield again. Really good corrupt cop show, which came out, bloody hell, 90s?
Like 2001, wasn't it?
Mid-2000s.
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah. I can't remember when it came out. It's a long time ago.
It was just after 24, I think. I think it was one of the other networks wanted like a 24-like show.
But it's really good. It follows Mackie, who's just this... he's got a strike team as part of the police force. And they're in... I've got to get this right now. LA?
LA, yeah.
So, it follows his strike force that he's the leader of. And it turns out, you find out very quickly that he's a bit corrupt, as well as the guys that work with him. And it kind of just follows his path, really, his journey. He has Acevedo, who is basically like the... I've forgotten the title, what they call him... the boss of the LAPD, who clearly knows there's something.
Is it like the captain?
The captain, thank you. Yeah.
Or something like that?
So he basically is keeping an eye on Mackie because he obviously suspects there's something else going on, and starts to try and find ways to catch him out. And it's just brilliantly shot. The stories are really good. They're original for their time. The acting is really spot on. And the arcs for all the characters, even in the background, all get their go. So it's really good. It all intertwines, and you just can't believe that this guy seems to get away with what he does. Oh my God, I've forgotten his name. The lead actor, he is just...
Michael Chiklis.
Thank you, Michael Chiklis. He is just spot on. I mean, sometimes, when somebody fits a role, like Kiefer Sutherland, funny enough, when you mentioned 24... Michael obviously got offered this role, and it just suits him to a T. He just made that his own. He's so good in that. So if anyone hasn't seen it, do you have a look at that?
It's a really well cast show, all right, though, like you said. Yeah.
It brings in, you get Glenn Close is in one series, Forrest Whitaker's in one, CCH Pounder's in the whole show, but she's absolutely amazing in it.
She's amazing.
But yeah, it's such a good show, and the way it's shot as well, it's really...
shaky.
It's really shaky camera and gritty. Like, it makes it feel like you're there. Like, that's the whole point. It makes you feel like you're kind of on the streets rather than it being some kind of glamorous, perfectly shot thing. It's really down to earth and gritty.
And I mean, it's brutal. Like you say, it's gritty. There's humour.
Yeah.
There's just a mixture of everything, and it's balanced. It's really well done. And some touching moments, and look at family behind the scenes as well. Yeah, really recommend that. The only thing I wanted to finish on, which was a bit of an oddity because I only discovered this the other day, was I hate to bring it up, but it's Call of Duty. But it's the new Call of Duty. It's Cold War Black Ops, which was released for the PS4 and the PS5. Now, originally I wasn't particularly interested in getting this, but the friend that I share the account with, shout out to J Dread, he ended up getting talked into picking this up, so obviously we both can play it, and we had a little crack at this over Christmas, and it's Call of Duty. It's shooty, bang, bang. It's not doing anything particularly different. I hear the campaign is very good, so I'm looking forward to actually playing that. But the multiplayer side, for what we play it for, is kind of very similar. But there's this mode which I've never seen before. Now, I hear rumours that this has been in previous Black Ops, so I can't confirm that. But there's this mode, and it's called Prop Hunt.
Oh, yeah, that's been in for a while. That's been in since like Black Ops 2, I think.
I have never seen this before, and oh my God, did I have fun. So just for those that aren't aware of this, it's one team, basically, as the game loads in, you turn into props relevant to the map that's been selected. So one that we played in a map called Nuketown has all this sort of Christmassy decorations around it. So you can come in as a Christmas tree, as a present, as a wreath, as a small gingerbread model. And you have 30 seconds to find a suitable hiding spot on the map before the other side get a chance to hunt for you. Now, the other side are armed to the teeth with the usual guns and grenades and whatever, and they have to find you. So the thing is, you get to hide as a prop and select anywhere on the map. So you can even go to where they are spawning in, but they won't see you doing that. So you can sort of sit there behind them, and then they'll suddenly appear in the map, and they won't know you're there. And you basically get 2 chances to change into a different prop. So if you don't like the one that you spawn in the game, you can change it, but only up to another 2 times. And you can also drop a decoy of the prop that you are. So if you're a Christmas tree, you can drop a decoy of it, run around somewhere else on the map, and then go and stand as that Christmas tree. So they think, oh, that could be you. Shoot it, and it turns out a decoy, so they don't know where you are. But if you do find a really good hiding spot, the thing that goes against you is that your prop whistles after about 30 seconds, just the once, so it gives the opposition a chance to find you. And that is basically it. It sounds mad, which it is. It sounds a lot of fun, which I promise you it is. I put a video in the Discord the other day, and when you die, you can have a look at the camera of one of the other players on your team. So one of my friends was sitting in what I can only describe as more like a caravan, and he was hiding there as a Christmas box, and the enemy were running around trying to find him, couldn't find him. And then last minute, somebody took a shot at him, and you can go on the move. So he leapt out of this van as a Christmas box. And we're going, hide. So then ran up into a house. They're chasing him up into the house. And we said, oh, have you changed yet? And he's like, no. And I said, quick, change. So he jumps out the window and lands in front of everybody as a Christmas tree. He's gone from a present to a Christmas tree. They all spot him. Everyone's trying to shoot him. He's running around the map. It was hilarious. And I put the video and then I'll put it in the Discord for everyone to see at some point. But it's just a mad, silly game. But we have played that far too much with far too much alcohol. And it has been a lot of fun. But yeah, I didn't realise they'd done it before. But yeah, really recommend that. So yeah, any of you guys played it before?
No, I haven't.
Not the Call of Duty version. I've played. So Prop Hunt originally came from Gary's Mod, which was like a suite of mods for Half-Life, and that's kind of someone put that concept together because there was just thousands upon thousands of assets you could drop into the game. And it spawned from there. It was quite like in the early days of YouTube. It was like a huge YouTube thing to play Gary's Mod and to play Prop Hunt. And it became a thing in Call of Duty after that. So it's got a long storied history of online chaos, that concept.
Yeah,
but it is a fun mood to play no matter what game you play it in if it's there.
Yeah. No, really enjoyed it. So yeah, that's it. I think for the Nexus. So thank you for that. So it's time to get ready for the cameras to roll with our main feature. And this week, I gave a bit of thought to what the subject would be, and I've chosen favourite directors. So we sent a tweet out to find out what some of our listeners thought. But I'm going to go over to the guys here to see who they think are their favourite directors. Gadget, you're up first, mate.
Oh, my first. Marvellous. Well, okay, so for my favourite director, I'm going to pick a director who has a very storied history. He worked for a long time in advertising and was responsible for a few very iconic British adverts before he got into the cinema game. He's also a local boy, born in the northeast. I am, of course, talking about Sir Ridley Scott, the man himself. Absolute legend. So I love a lot of Ridley Scott's films. But one of the reasons I also wanted to bring him up as well is I hate a lot of Ridley Scott's films. The man is one of the most inconsistent directors in the world because he has some absolute classics in his filmography, and he has some fucking dross. Obviously, everyone knows the big ones. You know, Alien was him. Blade Runner, oh, that was him, definitely. And Gladiator from the year 2000. Oh, such good films, amongst, obviously, a lot of others. But I've always kind of really connected with Ridley Scott's films, especially kind of his earlier stuff and a lot of the sci-fi stuff that he's done, because I like his world building. He has this very innate visual style. In fact, no, I don't even want to call it a visual style, because it can sometimes be hard to pick out a Ridley Scott film. He's got a wonderful attention to detail. Like, even in his bad films, the worlds that he puts together are really believable, especially when they're kind of fantastical. Like, the way he built up Alien, like, you don't see the alien for like the first, 40 minutes of the film? Something like that? Like, you have this 3-act structure in the film where you've got the Nostromo landing on LV-427, and that whole sequence, barely any dialogue, it's all kind of building up the tension, and you get John Hurt meeting the egg, and that sets off the second act. And you get the kind of the chaos that comes around from that, but nothing really still happening, and apart from kind of him bursting. And then you get the kind of the last act of the film, which is when the alien is actively hunting them. And each bit is this wonderful kind of cycle of silence and sound, silence and sound, silence and sound, and tension. There's not a great deal of dialogue in the entire film. And it builds and it builds and it builds, and you get that scene in the escape pod at the end where the alien you finally see the whole of the alien. And it's on screen for 5 seconds before it gets sucked out into space. You know, it's just brilliant how that film's put together. And it's obviously I know it was it was his second feature film, because The Duelist was his first one. But it wasn't a huge budget film. But everything looked real, everything looked tactile, everything had a purpose in the world. And the story that he was allowed to tell was just absolutely fucking brilliant. The production design was excellent. The same kind of goes into Blade Runner, which was obviously which was his next film, but it was also kind of possibly one of the hardest ones he's had, because he never actually got his proper final edit until, was it 2015? was that when the final edit came out?
I'm not even sure. I've lost track of how many different edits that movie has had, and I think I've seen them all.
Yeah, well, yeah, because I know if you buy the current Blu-ray version, you can watch every single edit.
Yeah.
And like, that film was kind of done dirty in its original format, because like the studio kind of took it over. They put that awful Harrison Ford narration over the top, which kind of explained away the mystery out of the plot. But the world, like the darkness, is kind of taking. I know the original book, I know Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, has a lot of visual in it, but I always feel that he took a lot of the visual from like William Gibson's novels. Like that kind of dirty, kind of rain-soaked neon city, the kind of amalgamation between kind of Western and Eastern cultures that kind of get smashed together in LA. That all feels very much like Neuromancer, as opposed to Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. But the film has this, just again, it's a beautiful look. It's when you see the actual final cut, when you see Ridley's preferred vision of it, it has the pace that it lacked in the original versions of the film. And of course, absolute masterstroke getting Vangelis in for the soundtrack. I'm sorry, but that was just absolutely perfect.
I mean, I know there's a lot of different composers that we have today, but I can't imagine that working with anybody else. Do you know what I mean? I just think it just works.
Yeah, well, as well as Catholic, wasn't it one of the first entirely synthetic soundtracks as well? It was like one of the very first ones to be done entirely with synths rather than an orchestra. And I mean, I would go into stuff like that.
Sorry.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking, when you think about synths and stuff, like I know that they've done a lot of synth work, especially in the 80s and stuff. But
yeah, but like, I mean, I could go into the other films I like. I could, go more into like Gladiator, which I think is just one of the most perfect films ever made. Like,
I'm a big fan of it.
Even 21 years after the film came out, I still get a tear in my eye at the end. Like, it's that good a film.
Yeah.
And The Martian, I loved The Martian. One of my favorite sci-fi films.
Yeah. A lot of people didn't like that. I don't know the book, but I loved it.
Yeah. The only thing I didn't like about The Martian, because it's one of the few films that I actually read the book first before I saw the film. I don't like they changed the ending of it slightly to make it a bit more actiony, and to like they swap around a few characters, whereas in the book it's more sciencey. It's, for lack of a better word, it's like it's more like how a crew would actually do that. I'm going to make it a real word. We do have to like approach the bad ones. Like, I'm sorry, but Exodus: Gods and Kings was dreadful.
Never bothered.
Oh, God, it was so bad. It's one of those films that you don't even need to be drunk to watch it. You just shouldn't watch it. It's just so, like, I don't think Ridley Scott is that good with fantasy. I think he suits better with kind of like modern day drama or science fiction. Because I know a lot of people like Kingdom of Heaven as well, but I really dislike that film. I really didn't
Isn't
like
that one another one there with studio interference? He's finally got his own cutout, and apparently, even though it is longer, I think it adds like an extra hour onto the film or something. Apparently, it makes everything so much better and more cohesive.
Right, I haven't seen that version.
Yeah.
I saw it at the cinema when it first came out.
Yeah, me too. So I need to.
Thoroughly disappointed. You had Robin Hood, the one with Russell Crowe in it, which was not something anyone should watch. That was bloody awful. But the main bad ones that kind of like pull his career trajectory down for me, despite how much I love Ridley Scott films, was Prometheus and Alien Covenant.
Yes.
Because Prometheus had a really good concept and a lot of very good execution, but they did it wrong. Like, it was the wrong story to kind of link into the Alien universe. There is so much it would be very easy to do a good Alien prequel, and he kind of got the chance to do it again with Alien Covenant, and he still fucked it up. It was still such a bad film. I was so angry when I saw Alien Covenant, because he tried to with Alien Covenant, it felt like he tried to remake Alien and tried to do what made Alien brilliant, but he didn't do any of it because it had no tension. None of the characters were sympathetic. Everyone was just awful, and I was rooting for the alien by the end of it. Like, it looked pretty, like the special effects were great, the production design was fantastic again, but it didn't work, and I don't know why. I don't know how he could get it so wrong, having directed the first in the series, and you would think he would know how to make an Alien film inside out. I'm pretty convinced at this point now Alien just has 2 films. Like,
yeah, I like the third one actually as well. But the fact that he created, I think, probably one of my favourite movies was Alien. If I had a list, it'd be up there, and it swaps between that and The Thing. And I love Alien so much, and I was so excited for Prometheus. And I know your expectations will probably always be too high. I appreciate that, even with hindsight. But I was so excited to see Prometheus, and I went to cinema to see that. And I came out of that just pretty low. I'm not going to lie. I just came out watching that thinking, what have I just watched? Was that really Ridley Scott that delivered that?
Yeah, my thoughts exactly that. I was like, what did I just watch then? I had no idea. I was completely baffled.
And you can tell why, like, Biggie, you'd be excited, because he made the first Alien. We had Brilliant Aliens, and then we just had a bunch of sequels that weren't very good, and then awful stuff like Alien vs. Predator 1 and 2. And it's like, right, it's going back to that universe, to the helm of the man who created it.
Yeah.
What could go wrong? Okay.
A lot,
yeah.
Yeah, evidently. And like, because I remember when they kind of announced Prometheus, it was like, oh, it's a new trilogy that kind of starts the Alien franchise off. And I was thinking like, ooh, that's interesting. I like that. And I thought that would be a great concept. And actually, a shout out for another podcast that I listened to called Sequelizers, who their whole shtick is they take a bad sequel to a good film, and they kind of pitch a new idea for a sequel that would be better. And they did a season on prequels, and they did Prometheus. And their version of Prometheus sounds incredible. I want that. Seriously, go up and look Sequelizers and look for their Prometheus episode, because it is really, really good. Their idea is really
Sounds like a good idea we could steal for an episode.
Yeah, I'll cut that out. But I mean, like I said, it's not just the sci-fi stuff it's not just sci-fi stuff that he does, obviously. But like Thelma and Louise is an all-time classic. G.I. Jane as well, which I know kind of some people didn't like, but it is actually now quite well regarded. It's a fantastic. It is worth a watch. It's probably a cultural touchstone point as well, with having kind of that story told with a female protagonist. Like, it's a very, very good film. I know a lot of people who think of it quite fondly. And even though I don't like modern war films, I don't like war films in general, Black Hawk Down was really good.
Yeah,
especially just in terms of his direction of the action. So
it is sublime. I love it. I've seen that many times.
don't know how one director can have so many highs and so many fucking lows.
At least the highs are really good, though.
Oh yeah, the highs are like the highest of the highs. They're really good
the highs are high, and the lows are forgettable. Really, until you started reeling them off, then it was like, oh yeah, he did that, didn't he?
Yeah,
I couldn't remember some of the stuff.
Well, it would be one thing if his lows were completely forgettable, but then, we're all mad about Prometheus and Alien Covenant. Don't forget those ones.
Even though those films are bad, when you hear like Exodus, and then you see his name attached to it and the sort of premise, you've got like high hopes, haven't you? You're like, this could be another epic, because he can direct an epic film.
Oh yeah, I think that was the intention. It was supposed to be like a kind of Jason and the Argonauts kind of thing, wasn't it? It was like this kind of historical fantasy epic. That's what it was supposed to be, and it just got everything so wrong. It looked beautiful, like cinematography was off the charts. It was a fantastic looking film, but like nobody could act in that one. I'm pretty sure, if I remember rightly, that's the one. It's the one with Christian Bale and Joel Edgerton in it, playing Egyptian gods. Why? Why those people?
So clearly I'm not one to be ageist, but do you think just maybe he's lost that spark, that creative or that understanding of how cinema works with stories and direction? Do you think his early work is the best work he's gone for? Because I can't think what he last has done that I've enjoyed, apart from the movies you've mentioned.
I don't necessarily think it's that. I think it might be just not being particularly circumspect in some of the projects he takes on. It might be, it might just be a lack of available opportunities for stuff that really excites him. I don't know. I'm not Ridley Scott. I do know, which I was quite surprised to find out when I was doing a bit of research here. He's 83. I didn't think he was that old.
Yeah, I mean, he must be getting that way now.
A lot of his best work at the minute seems to be in TV, which is where a lot of kind of directors and actors are going. Like his current project, he's a producer on, but he directed the first 2 episodes of his Raised by Wolves, which has had apparently absolutely banging reviews. I still need to see it.
Yeah, I do as well.
He produced The Good Wife, which I loved.
Yes, that was a good show.
And I didn't realise, but he was behind Halo Nightfall in 2014, which was the kind of tie-in series just before Halo 5 came out. And also Man in the High Castle. I didn't even know he was attached to that, but he was an executive producer on that. So, I think a lot of the work that he's doing now seems to be more in the TV realm, even though he's got films coming up. I think his next film, he's got The Last Duel and Gucci coming out this year, apparently. Don't know anything about them, but I'll be interested to see what they are. And I will hope they're as good as his highs. I just don't want another Prometheus.
No. Yeah, thanks, Gadget. So over to you, Stig.
Yeah, so for mine, I'm going to choose a relatively new director in terms of, the people I think are really great directors, and it's Taika Waititi. He's a New Zealand-born. He's started out his career, kind of came to the forefront with the guys from Flight of the Conchords. He's did a bit of acting, writing and directing on that, and then he moved into his first feature film, which was Eagle vs. Shark. It's very Taika Waititi. His style is very quirky and quite strange, cringy comedy at times, and nothing says him more than Eagle vs. Shark. So I only watched this. I've seen all his other work, and I only actually watched this the other night because I thought he's only directed 6 films. I thought, you know what, I'm going to make sure I've seen everything before I talk about him. And it's a really funny comedy drama about 2 introverts who find love with each other at a party where one's dressed as an eagle and the other's dressed as a shark. And it's just, it's really just heartwarming and funny. And that's the kind of stuff that you get from him throughout all of his films. Like I said, he's directed 6 films: Eagle vs. Shark, Boy, What We Do in the Shadows. My personal favourite is Hunt for the Wilder People, Thor Ragnarok, and Jojo Rabbit. And throughout every single one of them, you can just see his influence in the writing, because he pretty much writes and directs all of his films. I'm sure on Thor there's probably a bit of a committee there, but with everything else he's written, that. So all the comedy, all the script, it comes from him. It's not just him directing people to do that. And you see it especially in films like Eagle vs. Shark, Boy, and Hunt for the Wilder People. He likes to bring New Zealand to the forefront in his films.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, he's very good at... I've got a friend who's from New Zealand, and he said Boy and Hunt for the Wilder People it felt like growing up. That's what growing up in New Zealand is about. His second feature film, Boy, it's another comedy drama. This is about a Maori coming-of-age film set in the 80s, about a boy probably roughly the same age Taika would have been at the time. So it feels very much like he's using his lived experiences in that film. Comes across great. It's, again, the comedy, the drama, the heart, it all shines through. I think that's what personifies his films. What We Do in the Shadows, I think we've discussed that like at length on multiple shows before. It's brilliant. It's one of my favourite comedies of all time. It takes that mockumentary style and just throws it into this ridiculous situation with vampires. It's just so good. Like, yeah, I mean, like we said before, go watch that, and then watch his, and then watch the TV show as well, which he's had a hand in, obviously producing and writing in that as well. And then his career kind of takes this weird turn. Like, so you've got these kind of personal, down to earth ish films with like the likes of Boy and Hunt for the Wilder People, and he gets given a Marvel job. But he completely rejuvenates the Thor character. Like, I think Thor 1 and 2 are much maligned films, and probably rightfully so. They aren't really that good. They don't service the character well at all. I think Loki comes...
They're watchable.
They're watchable, yeah, but Loki comes across out of that film more interesting than Thor.
Yeah, definitely.
Thor gets his moments in the Avengers films, but, upsets Taika, injects Thor character with his kind of humour and his fun, and it just blows like the character of Thor up completely. Like, I think he went from a lot of people's like bottom tier to the character that people like the most. It's not everyone likes him the most, but I know a lot of people that didn't really care about Thor. Now all of a sudden he's the favourite, and that's all down to Taika really, and his writing and his direction of that character and changing that. Like, the comedy in Thor 1 and 2 is all about the fish out of water, and then Taika's basically made Thor more funny, more quippy, more warm to like other characters as well. He's very standoffish in the previous films. And then he's obviously around that, he's created characters like Korg, who he plays himself. So a lot of Taika's films as well, he'll play a character himself, whether it's just a quick cameo or a major side character. He then brings himself into it, and Korg's an amazing character. And, with Thor, he brought Jeff Goldblum into the MCU, and more Goldblum is always a good thing.
I think that's a law of the universe, isn't it?
Yeah. You got someone with Taika's, comedy writing and skills. Give that to someone like Goldblum, and it's gold, absolute gold. What I realise that I'm doing kind of here is just rolling out his films here, but as he's only done 6, this is kind of why I just kind of I love his films, and I just kind of want to. That's what I want to do. Really, is just talk about his films. Cool. His next one, Hunt for the Wilder People. Like I said, I consider this his best film. I think everybody should, go out the way to try and see this film. It's about a young delinquent called Ricky, played by Julian Dennison. And he goes to live with bad-tempered Heck, who's played by Sam Neill, and his wife Bella. Bella suddenly dies, and Ricky runs away because he doesn't want to A, live with Heck, or B, go back into the foster care system. But he stupidly runs off into New Zealand bush, which is miles and miles and miles and miles of forestry, which if you don't know what you're doing, you're pretty much dead. So Heck goes after him to try and bring him back, and then gets injured on the way back. So, like Eagle vs. Shark, he brings his style of comedy and flair to this, the heartwarming tale. There's some really poignant moments in this film that is quite heartbreaking at times. But he manages to mix all of that, but with caricatures of situations of people, but not making it too absurd. He's got this really great way of mixing silly situations with real moments, and that's all like perfectly done in Hunt for the Wilder People. It's sharp, it's witty, it's hilarious and sweet, and like it has a really great, brilliant final act, which is like, you know, it's been mentioned already, Thelma and Louise. It kind of riffs off that in the final scenes. It's really, really good. And then recently, he's won an Oscar for his most recent film, Jojo Rabbit. Again, this is a film, because of what he does with it, it requires his kind of ability to take something serious and mix it with the absurd and treat it with respect. I think he really nails that with this film. I think that is his talent. That is what he can do, is that he can make something that sounds ridiculous and sounds, you know, actually quite offensive when you first read about what he was going to do. But the way he executes it is so well done and with such care that you actually think, oh yeah, actually that works. And so what this film is Jojo is a boy who is very much indoctrinated into like blind nationalism. Like, he's been recruited for the Hitler Youth. This film is set within the dying days of World War II. And he finds out that his mother is sheltering a Jewish girl. So it's kind of, you know, it's a typical kind of setup for a small village film set in World War II. But then he throws in this satire and the fact that Jojo's imaginary friend is Adolf Hitler himself. And it's an absurd concept. Absolutely absurd concept of, oh, this boy's imaginary friend is Adolf Hitler, and Taika plays Hitler as this ridiculously over-the-top character. But again, like I said, it's done with the right tone, and he absolutely nails it. And it's a film, very much a film about identity. You know, like I said, Jojo is wrestling with his conscience against his nationalism, and it's clearly Taika's unfiltered artistic vision. You can feel that in every second of this film. It's a fantastic script. Every member of the cast is brilliant, particularly Sam Rockwell. And he just brings this quirky and emotional part to it. And that's what he does. And that's what I love about his films, is that they're so quirky and they're so heartwarming. But he also he's able to mix that with real heart and emotion.
What do you think of the recent announcement of his, potentially his next project?
Oh, the Star Wars one. Yeah, it's brilliant. Like, again, he's doing another Thor. So, you know, the rest of the MCU guys kind of got 3 films and that was it. But he's getting to do Thor again, which I think is really good. Like I said, I think the first 2 they're not great. So it's kind of like they started again with this new version of Thor. He directed, in my opinion, the best episode of season 1 of The Mandalorian as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Which is that last one. And again, in that, there's that little moment with the stormtroopers. And that's pure Taika Waititi. And if he brings into a Star Wars film, I'm all in. Like,
I think if anyone's going to deliver, obviously, our fellow podder extraordinaire Jeebus has torn apart the Star Wars universe. But I think if anyone could pull that back, perhaps, is maybe him. I think he can deliver that mix of what we expect these days from modern movies.
I hope so, yeah. I mean, he's already proven with Thor that he can handle a large character in a large budget film, inject his own style into it, and make it work for the masses.
It's an interesting, because he brings a lot of small screen style to the movies. Like especially with Thor, it's almost like sitcom writing, like the way like the jokes kind of come thick and fast. But when you go back to it, like you look down his IMDb page, like he did like 5 episodes of stuff like the In-Betweeners, and he did like the TV series of What We Do in the Shadows. Did quite a lot on that, and you know, old shows like Super City. For all he can do, like the kind of the big bombast, which is what you got in Thor Ragnarok, and what I assume he'll bring to Star Wars. He can do the sharp, short dialogue that endears you to characters, and it's quite a skill to be able to kind of navigate both the high end, big budget stuff, but also bring in that low budget, that kind of indie edge that he has with his dialogue.
Yeah.
He's a fantastic director.
He's got that really annoying thing as well, where he's not just good at one thing, but he acts, he writes, he directs, he produces, he does like everything, and like he's brilliant at it all as well. So, and he's just a fun guy. I follow him on social media, and he did a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I do.
Recently, lockdown and stuff, and it's just really fun. Like he sounds like a really cool guy, and yeah, I think I absolutely love his films. I have not of the 6 films. I've seen all of his films, and I don't think there's a bad one in them at all.
Yeah, I think he's got a bright future ahead of him. Definitely agree. Doomy, you're up next.
I'm going to talk about Steven Spielberg.
Who?
For my pick. When I was thinking about this, I'm not really one for sort of picking up on directors and how they shoot things, and they shoot it this way, and you can tell it's their film because of this. So I just sort of picked somebody that's directed a load of films that I've liked over the years. And Steven Spielberg's sort of films, they've always been around, like ever since I can remember watching films. His films have been one of the main reasons I enjoy cinema. Things like growing up watching things like the Raiders of the Lost Ark, or all the Indiana Jones films, E.T., even like Jaws. When I was a kid watching that, like I was far too young to watch it, but I was hooked. Like I was so gripped by it. It was so a really good way of building tension. And I just I like how varied he is as a director as well. We can do sort of the thrillers, he can do the sort of biopics, war movies with like Saving Private Ryan, sci-fi. He's done a lot of great sci-fi movies. Through growing up, he's always been turning out films that I've enjoyed. Like I say, growing up through the 80s, there's been his Indiana Jones movies, E.T., into the 90s, things like Jurassic Park, Saving Private Ryan, Schindler's List. He's just, I think he's a really, really good director, a great director. A bit like Gadget, I'm not a fan of every single film that he's done. I really dislike Hook. I don't know how everyone else feels about that. Even at the time when I watched it at the cinema, I thought this is terrible. But I don't know everybody else's viewpoint on that film, to be honest.
I don't hate Hook. Yeah, I quite like it, but
yeah, maybe it's just me.
No. Steven Spielberg hates Hook. So here.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, he hates.
Oh, good lad. Good lad. Just looking through like his catalogue of films, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it was at one point it was almost like a seal of quality, wasn't it? When you think of the movies that he released, you got excited when a new Steven Spielberg movie was coming out, because you expect almost like a well-told story, don't you? Because there was always this sort of narrative that went through his movies that just sort of took you on a journey, a ride, and it was delivered so well. He always generally picked great actors for his movies. I know Harrison Ford obviously cropped up in quite a few of his, but I'm a massive fan of Spielberg. It's very hard to really narrow down a favourite, to be honest.
You're always going to get like great music as well, because like John Williams does the music for most of his films. So he does that, like he always does that like seems to do that shot where he sort of zooms in on one of the characters' faces and you just see the sort of emotion in the face.
Oh, the Jaws shot.
Yeah, like that. He does it to like Laura Dern in Jurassic Park as well, when she sees the Brachiosaurus for the first time. And you're sort of like drawn into like her disbelief and amazement before you see why she's seeing that. He does that in a lot of his films. Great actor, great director.
I think one of my favourite moments from him, which really surprised me how well he delivers it, is that opening to Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom with the musical. I can't imagine how difficult that must have been to pull that off, set that up. And, with his wife to be, her name's just gone from me now. I can't think, Kate Capshaw, when she does that, what's the name of the musical, the song that they sing? It's gone. But do you remember the opening to the Temple of Doom, where Indiana Jones has to swap over the gem that they've got at a table in a restaurant, and they've got this big musical number going on in the background, which obviously turns into chaos. But the setup for that, because it's not something you really expect from Spielberg, the way he does his movies. All of a sudden, you got this musical opening the movie. I just thought that was really stunning. I always remember that for some reason.
Funnily enough, I think the next movie he's got coming out is West Side Story.
Mm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
this just again points to what you said about his variety.
Yeah,
Like, he does so many different varieties. One of my favorite things about Spielberg as well is he didn't finish film school, and he then went on to make Jurassic Park and Schindler's List in the same year, two absolute masterpieces in the same year, and then he submitted Schindler's List as his final film to finish film school to pass his grade.
A+, I think.
That's a power move,
isn't
isn't it?
Just a bit.
B+.
Here's my film, Schindler's List. Yeah,
I mean,
Jaws.
Jaws. Jaws just had me terrified of water. Well, not any water, just big ocean water. Took me a while to get over that, I have to say. Going out swimming. That's a fantastic movie, Jaws.
Yeah, there's a few blind spots I still have with Spielberg. Like, I still need to watch Close Encounters. I only watched Jaws, actually, for the first time a couple of years ago. But it's absolutely amazing, isn't it? It's like I've probably ranked that as my second favourite film behind Jurassic Park of his. But,
Yeah, it's still so good.
The problem is with Spielberg, though, for all the good he does, I mean, he did do Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
He did, yeah. That was shocking.
What's that?
Raiders is my favourite of his, so then to have him do another indie movie and potentially another, I just don't know. I don't know.
He also did Ready Player One, which might be the most offensive film I've ever seen.
I've not seen that yet.
It's not. Yeah.
Well, it's one of those films that if you haven't read the book, it's a bit shit. If you have read the book, it's fucking awful. It's like two levels to it, and apparently he's attached in some way to do the Ready Player 2 film, which the book is worse. The book is dreadful, and the film I can't imagine would be any better. But I've seen a lot of bad films at cinema, but when I went to see Ready Player One, it's the first time I was actually legitimately angry at a film, because I understand adapting that book for the cinema is difficult because it's a lot of 80s nerd kind of fanboying kind of thing. I get it. It's a hard film to make, because you need to sell this to a wide audience, and explaining why one of the the first key you have to get by beating a rather infamous Dungeons and Dragons dungeon. That's not going to go well with a cinema audience because that's just too much. I get that. But what he turned out was so bad. There was so much completely changed on it. And the real, even down to like the kind of alien nature of how characters looked in the Oasis, it didn't make any sense. It lost all of the emotional impact. They changed so many scenes. They kind of made Artemis completely pointless in the whole story. Oh God, I was so mad at it. Literally, I'm still mad at it, in fact, because for all of its flaws, I really do love the original book. Good God, that film was bad.
Jurassic Park was good, though, wasn't it?
Yeah,
we'll end on that rather than slating him for Ready Player One.
Yeah, thank you for that, Doomy. It's my topic for the pod, so I'm going to go with two, but I'm only going to talk about the other one very briefly. I was torn between who I wanted to talk about, but I just wanted to mention Oliver Stone, who, amongst many of his movies, gave us Scarface, Platoon, Born on the 4th of July. But my favourite of his is JFK, a film that basically combined political thriller, family drama, criminal investigation, and a courtroom drama, and almost as a documentary. The director's cut, for me, is essential viewing. I don't know, have any of you guys seen this?
No.
I implore you to watch JFK. And I believe it's possibly Kevin Costner's greatest performance, particularly the final closing speech that he does for the Warren Commission. It's just a fantastic story. It's a conspiracy theory. It's Oliver Stone's done a lot of research, but it's a great delivery of a point of view of what happened to JFK when he was assassinated. and the reasons behind it. It's tense. It's a long movie. If you want to see the director's cut, it's about 3 hours plus. And you do need to pay attention because there's a lot of information thrown at you. But I must have seen it 4 or 5 times, and I know it's a long movie, but I think it's brilliant. It's just fantastic tension for a story that really does make you think about, obviously the fact that a president could be assassinated in the first place, because it's not really a common theme as far as I understand, looking at past history. So I just think the fact that this actually happened live, obviously, and television as well, is absolutely shocking. And the Zapruder film footage is also included in the movie, and it's as shocking as you expect it to be if you've never seen it. But I just please track this film down just to make me happy that you've seen it.
I think it's on Prime Video.
Yeah, it's also. I don't know if the full cut is there, but it's great either way, whichever way you watch it. But I finally decided to go with a French-Canadian auteur that has basically built up his reputation internationally after the sort of, I'm going to say moderate success, but he actually did quite well of his movie Prisoner. And it's Denis Villeneuve. When he released Prisoners in 2013, it sort of brought his quality of work to the spotlight. It starred Hugh Jackman, Jake Gyllenhaal. The plot sort of revolved around the abduction of 2 girls and the arrest of a young man who had a lower IQ, who was arrested and then subsequently released by the police. And then the father of one of the girls, which was Hugh Jackman, took the guy hostage. It's a hard movie to watch due to the subject matter and the violence that ends up forming the main part of the movie. But Dennis managed to pull out a performance from Hugh Jackman, which I feel he hadn't quite delivered yet in any of the movies he's already previously appeared in. And I just felt that it was a side of Hugh Jackman that we'd never seen before. A really sort of subtle, emotional performance as a father. So if you haven't seen it, I do suggest you catch that. After success of this, he ended up releasing Sicario, but I've actually mentioned that on the pod before, so I won't go into too much detail about that. But I implore you to watch Sicario if you haven't seen that. It's an incredibly tense movie to watch, but it's just so good. But his next movie after that was Arrival, which starred Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner. This film follows sort of a linguist who's enlisted by the United States Army to discover how to communicate with extraterrestrial aliens who arrived on Earth before any of the tensions led to war. Something about Dennis and the actors that he picks, he just, it's all about the performance. He lets the actors kind of breathe into the role. The movies are quite long, I think you find, particularly with Arrival and the final movie I want to talk about. He just has a great way of getting a performance out of the actor, and particularly with Amy, because it also deals with grief and the pressure on her character about how to basically try and communicate not only with an alien race, but trying to encourage 11 nations to work together to accept this gift that the aliens have brought with us before the usual military action of blowing shit up. The cinematography, he enlisted a guy called Bradford Young, who did When They See Us and Solo, a Star Wars story. It's fantastic because it's a lot of use of natural lighting, which was sort of perfect fit for this vision. The arrival of the aliens is beautifully done. And there's this sort of undercurrent tension throughout this movie, which I think is really well delivered. I don't know if you guys have seen Arrival. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I've seen Arrival. Yeah. The one thing I loved more of anything in that film was the design of the aliens.
Yeah.
Like, I loved that they were so unearthly and that you didn't actually get to see that much of them. It was mostly kind of their legs. But like, even kind of when they passed through into that kind of through the force field. And yeah, it just, everything about them was so ethereal and strange. It wasn't like your traditional Hollywood aliens where it's someone with different coloured skin or someone with kind of a little bit of prosthetics on their head, or, you know, the kind of your 90s Star Trek aliens. It wasn't anything like that. And I really, really appreciated that, because when you, like, that tension that you got in the first kind of half of the film when, you know, they get in. Amy Adams, it is Amy Adams, yeah. Amy Adams and
yes,
Jeremy Renner kind of get in there.
Jeremy Renner.
When you first see them, and you just see this kind of thing in the fog. It's almost like a trunk of a tree, and they don't know what it is, and it moves, and it's just like shit. That's it. That's what they are. It's like whoa. It's like okay, we're sat here, and the way it's all presented and the kind of the framing of every shot is just beautiful.
Yeah, it's very subtle, and it just I like again sort of very Ridley Scott. Funny enough, because leading to the next movie I'll talk about shortly, but they have a very similar visual style of sort of building that. You know, the universal, the world that they're trying to deliver there. I totally agree. And Stiggy, I think you're a fan of Arrival as well, aren't you? Oh, maybe not.
I'm more a fan of all his other work. I've seen 5 of his films. I think he's only done 7 feature films.
Yeah, it's not like the other ones are sort of indie stuff.
I've seen 5 of them, and it was probably my least liked of it. I don't know whether I need to revisit it, but it didn't have the impact on me that his other films did. Sure, but it looks gorgeous for one. I know, and it's very well directed. But I don't know, something about it just didn't grip me as much as his other work.
Yeah, I really liked it. Like you said, Biggie, it is very subtle, but at the same time, very sort of suspenseful at the same time. You know what I mean?
It was a nice combination of the other plot to do with Amy and her family. To be and the aliens, you know, it wasn't just about them; it was all about her performance as well. I thought it was excellent. But the final choice that I chose of him, which is maybe an obvious one, but it blew me away when I saw it, and that's of course Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah,
it is a sequel, which was interesting as a first, I think, for him, and stars Ryan Gosling. Playing K, a Nexus 9 replicant Blade Runner, who uncovers a secret that threatens to destabilize society in the course of civilization. He again worked with visually. The cinematographer was Roger Deakins, who not only did he work with on Sicario, but Shawshank Redemption, Skyfall, to name a few of his movies. But what the two of them did was take what Ridley Scott originally envisaged, and I would say expanded visually what this future dystopia would look like. The vistas that they came up with for this movie just blew me away. I have only seen it at home. I didn't go to cinema to see it. We was going to, but I can't remember what happened. We just didn't make it in the end. But it's a long movie.
Yeah, it is.
It is a little bit existential, so again, I'm not 100% sure how much I would have actually enjoyed if I'd seen it in the cinema, because that'd be a long movie to take that all in. I can now appreciate it at home with subtitles and understand a little bit of what some of them are talking about, particularly Jared Leto, who does a bit of mumbling throughout the movie at times. So I really appreciate the subtitles for that. But just visually, it was a great performance from Ryan Gosling, I must say, as well as a few of the other characters in the movie. But I just visually blown away by that movie. I just thought the cinematography was just incredible. What they created when, whether it's the waterfall coming out of the side of one of the areas they visit, whether it's the humongous giant statues that they walk through, whether it's to go and see a particular character, which I don't want to ruin for anybody here who hasn't seen it, where you go to meet them. It was visually amazing. It's exactly what I wanted if anyone was ever going to try, and I wouldn't say better Blade Runner, because Blade Runner for me is an incredible movie and it's outstanding on its own. But I think for anyone to try and take on Blade Runner, I guess Denis Villeneuve was probably one of the only people that could ever have done it. And I love it. I think it's incredible. And I watched it again last night. Please see it on a big screen at home if you can. Surround sound, just go all in.
That whole opening scene with Dave Bautista in it was just incredible.
Yes.
Again, just a kind of another little masterclass in like 10 minutes of tension. It kind of it did that same thing that you got at the beginning of Inglourious Bastards, where you had these just two characters talk and you don't really know what's going to come out of it at the end, but you know it's probably not going to be good. And I mean, it obviously cemented as well how good an actor Dave Bautista is. and how good a performance a good director can get out of him. Because obviously up to that point, we'd mostly known him for
Drax.
Guardians of the Galaxy, hadn't we? Yeah, as Drax,
Yeah.
which he's good at, but it's not the heaviest lifting an actor would ever have to do in acting terms, as opposed to muscular terms. But yeah, that sequence was absolutely phenomenal, and I love the change in visual style when they move out of LA towards Vegas, and it becomes the kind of that orange desert.
Yeah.
And it's the whole color palette of the film changes from that point.
In fact, apart from the final, let's just say, fight in the movie, a lot of it is at daytime, whereas Blade Runner was at night. The original,
it was entirely at night.
So
from
yeah,
the
it's quite interesting.
30 seconds of it. That film is just wonderful all over, and I get what you were saying. He didn't try to better Blade Runner; he just tried to expand it. Because when I first heard about it, I thought, why would you do a sequel to Blade Runner? Because the book didn't get a sequel, and there isn't that much kind of expanded universe content for it out there.
I thought it was going to fall flat on its arse. I really did.
Yeah. And then I saw the trailers, and I was really worried because the trailers picked up a few of the action sequences from it. I thought, oh no, please don't let them make an action film out of Blade Runner, because Blade Runner had action, but it was all very small scale, and it was all it was two characters chasing each other mostly. And I'm really glad that he kind of threaded the needle between making something that was kind of, I know it didn't do the best it could have at the cinema, but it did pretty well, and it wasn't an out-and-out action film. It stood by itself as a film as well. You didn't really need to see Blade Runner to get most of it. Yeah. You just need to have an understanding of the major players. Absolutely superb film.
He's got great... you've already said how good his films look, but he's just got a way of making his films look amazing, and he's so good at building tension. He knows how to build tension so well in his films. Like you say, the bits in Prisoner where he takes the young lad hostage. There's the bit, the whole of Enemy. If you've seen Enemy, that thing is just it's an absolute headfuck of a film. But it's brimming with tension.
I haven't had a chance to see it.
Yeah, honestly, you come out of that film, you're just like, what? It's one of those ones where you have to sit and think about it and probably read up about a few things on theories and stuff, because it's just a head. But the Sicario, obviously the car scene in that is pure tension. He's just so good at it, and I'm so looking forward to June, because I think he's got a wonderful cast. He's got an eye for just cinematography and direction, and it's going to look amazing. And whether we see that at the cinema or on the small screen, I don't know yet, but I am looking forward to June so much. And after seeing Blade Runner 2049, he was the perfect director to take on that job, because I've heard that June is an unfilmable book before that, and he seems the trailers seem to show that he's got something there. So
I think I think we've all seen the original Dune, and that would kind of lend credence to the fact that it would be unfilmable. But yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic. Like seeing the trailer and seeing the visuals on display, seeing even just like how the characters look, and that kind of reveal of the sandworm at the end. It was just like, okay, Dennis has got it right. Yeah. He's got it right. Whatever it's going to be, whether he manages to get the story across well, it's gonna look fantastic. Yeah. And I'm all for seeing it in IMAX.
Okay, thank you, everybody. So now we have Gadget with the reviews. That is The Inquisition.
Yes, we put a call out upon Twitter asking for your favourite directors, and we got a fantastic response, if I'm perfectly honest. So let's dive straight in. Ben, at XBenBlasterX on Twitter, says, this may be because I recently finished a run of the new 4K editions of Lord of the Rings, but Peter Jackson is one of my all-time faves. He managed to bring Middle-earth to life in spectacular fashion, made a great monster romp in King Kong, and his recent World War I documentary was just incredible. I like Peter Jackson. Or rather, I would say I like Lord of the Rings. I didn't like the Hobbit films. I haven't really seen much else of what he's done. Like, I didn't see King Kong, but I heard it was good.
Have you seen his early stuff?
I like King Kong. Dead. I thought it was good.
Brain Dead, Bad Taste, they are very funny.
I've seen Brain Dead, but
and you can't believe he did Lord of the Rings.
I can't see how a director went from them to Lord of the Rings and absolutely smashed it with this huge epic.
I'm in the same. I can't believe it.
He did such a brilliant job with Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. They must, you can't imagine anybody watching Brain Dead and then going, "That's him. That's the guy."
Yeah. He must have had the most incredible patter to be able to go to New Line Cinema and say, like, "Okay, this is what I've done. I want to take a cast of very expensive actors to New Zealand for 18 months to record 3 films back to back, release them once a year, and by the way, also set up my own special effects house in the process." Like, anybody would have thought he was mad.
I went to that special effects studio when I was in New Zealand.
Went to workshops.
Me and my sister were there. And it's so small, really. Like, we just sort of found the address and just sort of started wandering around. And I just walked into the offices, and like somebody was like, "Can we help you?" I was like, "Oh, we're just like having a look around." Like, we just. It's like, you can't be in here. It's like, okay, sorry. It's like all these like Lord of the Rings, like orcs statues everywhere and things like that. It's pretty cool.
In fact, I think I saw you in the background in The Hobbit.
No, because The Hobbit's all CGI.
Yeah, it's a cartoon. Rob Frodsham at Bob Frod. There's a lot of directors I'll watch out for, but I'll say the Coen brothers with my favourite of theirs, by a Bug's Dick, being Miller's Crossing, or Sergio Leone with Once Upon a Time in the West. I do love a Coen brothers film. They make some of the... I don't know how they do it. They make some of the weirdest high-budget films. Yeah. Like, The Men Who Stare at Goats might be one of the strangest films I've ever watched, but they got such a huge cast for it. Or Burn After Reading, which I love, but no one else seems to like.
I liked Burn After Reading.
I think the one thing the Coen brothers managed to do is they managed to make pointless films. Like, all the stories in Burn After Reading kind of culminate into no one being any further forward and one character being killed. You know, it's like, or like The Big Lebowski. There's all this chaos that follows the dude around, and none of it's consequential to the world. It's just like a series of escalating incidents that happen.
I never thought about
that.
He
just want his rug sorted out or something.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's just a misunderstanding leads to a load of chaos. Hostage situations, blackmail, porn stars. It's just the most surreal film in the world. And I don't know how they get away with it. But it's brilliant. How it comes together as an entertaining film.
Men Who Stare at Goats. That's the... Is that a John Ronson book?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Because I remember watching. I can't remember if I'd watched the film or read the book first, and I was just like, I couldn't. I don't know. I think I'd seen the film, and then when I was reading the book, and it was like sort of investigative journalism from John Ronson, I couldn't get into the fact that it was like real journalism.
Yeah,
I was like, I've seen this film, and it's weird. I can't get that this is real. Like when I'm reading these words, so it sort of ruined the book for me. But I enjoyed the film.
But they're so great at whether it's together or by themselves. Again, like Spielberg, is that they have the ability to do completely the opposite end of the scale. You have something like Miller's Crossing or Fargo and what's the other one called? I'm gonna have a quick look. No Country for Old Men, which is No Country for Old Men is so relenting and so brilliant. Compare that to something like The Hood Proxy or The Big Lebowski and things like that. They're just the completely opposite end of the scale. Or Hail Caesar, which I hated, but like it's so different to like those kind of films. And I think the ability to have that variety and still knock out great films is it's a great skill to have.
Or when they adapt a text and they take Homer's Odyssey and make Oh Brother Where Art Thou, which is a delightfully off-the-wall mad film, but utterly brilliant with it. Yeah, brilliant directors, the Coens. Terrestrial Extra, at Terrestrial Extra. This is very tricky. After deliberation, I want to pick Terry Gilliam and 12 Monkeys. Gilliam's style portrays a fantasy madness that he draws me into. However, Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey and The Shining, but then Coppola, Scorsese, Tarantino. I think Terrestrial Extra is having a crisis of confidence over his choices here. But all excellent choices, all excellent directors. All very different directors as well. Like, you know, I mean, the world loves Terry Gilliam, but you never put him in a list with Kubrick, Scorsese, Tarantino.
Yeah, I was gonna talk about Kubrick, only because like he's directed one of my favourite films in Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah, same here.
I just love that film, but I got to talk about John Ronson again. Yeah, there was an article that he wrote in the early 2000s called Stanley Kubrick's Boxes, I think it was. I wrote it for The Guardian. And he was approached by somebody close to Stanley Kubrick and asked to go and meet him at one of his estates. And he went, and every room in his estate was just full of these boxes. And each box was just full of like sort of research on his films that he'd done. So he had a room full of boxes. Like his rooms aren't going to be little box rooms; they're going to be huge, and they're just full of these boxes. They were labelled Napoleon because he was going to make a biopic on Napoleon. But in the time it took him to do all his research, another studio had made a film called Waterloo that had bombed, so they canned it. So then he made Clockwork Orange. And there was things like there was another box for Eyes Wide Shut, and he opened it, and it was just pictures of doorways from streets around London. I think John Ronson actually found his own doorway in these pictures.
All right,
and the box was labelled Hooker's Doorway. So basically, he'd sent somebody out to take pictures of doorways because he wanted to look through them all to find the one that he thought was the best representation of a hooker's doorway.
Yeah, apparently his attention to detail is insane. The retakes that the actors have had to do for his movies apparently are legendary.
Isn't it true that he only did The Shining because he wanted to do a horror film? He had no interest in horror in general, but it was just like, I've done sci-fi, I've done drama, I've done weird things, I want to do horror now. And he just picked up The Shining for the sake of it.
Yeah, I watched The Shining a couple of years ago again. Great movie.
Stephen King hates it.
How good that is.
Stephen King does not like
King
The
hates
Shining.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've not read. To be fair, I've not read the book, so I can't compare it. But
He prefers the TV adaptation, which is shocking.
Okay, The Real Rider at Rider555 says, I'll give you 3 while I'm so generous. How generous of you, Rider. Ridley Scott for Alien, Martin Scorsese for Goodfellas, and David Fincher for Fight Club.
all good.
Oh, brilliant.
Solid.
Yeah, all good choices.
Solid choice.
Can't argue with any of those. John Cheetham at John Cheetham 1. Bong Joon-ho. Is that right?
Joon-ho, yeah. Yeah, Bong Joon-ho.
His film's messages are on point, and his mastery of genre and the way he can slip between different styles of film, even within his own works, is dazzling. Clearly at the height of his powers, it's exciting to think what he might do in the future. With Parasite winning Best Picture, he's going to have every studio just hurling money at him. He's going to do some excellent things.
Definitely.
Has he got anything lined up? I'm sure I read somewhere that he's got a new film coming out soon.
I don't know, but like just from what John said there, I completely agree. Like the way that he manages to switch the style, the type of film you think you're watching within the film is just brilliant. It's like Memories for Murder. There's parts of that. Like it's a really gripping tale, that film. But in it, all of a sudden they'll just put in these comedic moments, which seem like they shouldn't be in there, but they work so well. And he's just so great at doing that kind of thing. And it's the same with Parasite. There is moments of comedy within Parasite that, again, work within the context of the film.
I still haven't seen. I haven't seen any of his films, so I'm going to have to rectify that soon.
Oh, you are.
Oh, you
it's
should.
so good.
I've seen a few, but there's a lot more I want to watch.
Next up, we have Derek Pennington at One Line Derek. Don Hertzfeldt, known to many for the hilarious web short Rejected series, but in my opinion, the single greatest animated film of all time with It's Such a Beautiful Day. Absolutely breathtaking. Has any of us seen that
I don't recall
one?
any of this at all.
I haven't. Sorry, no.
No?
It's on my list. I'm going to check it out.
Found an animated film that Stig hasn't seen. we will check this one out, Derek. We'll check your work.
Yep.
Yes. Lee Davies at Leroy Francisco. It's got to be Kubrick for me. His run of Dr. Strangelove, 2001, Clockwork Orange, Barry Lyndon, The Shining, and Full Metal Jacket is unbelievable. I mean, that's a pretty strong run. Can't deny that. That's classic after classic after classic right there.
Mm-hmm.
Sneaky at I Am Sneaky. I can't really pick one. All my favourite films are scattered amongst many different directors. I guess George Lucas would be number one, as he's produced the classics, as well as Spielberg, but both have made some horrific films too. The feel of a film is more what I love. Think Moon. Okay, so Sneaky's kind of approaching from the idea that he doesn't like one particular director, but he likes the direction of a film. And Moon is an excellently put together film. One of my favourites of the last 20 years.
Yeah, do you know what? I haven't seen it yet. No, I
it's
feel
brilliant.
bad.
It's Sam Rockwell at his absolute finest. It's seriously one of the best films he's ever acted in. And he's acting against nobody. He's on his own with a robot voiced by Kevin Spacey. Basically it for most of the film. Absolutely brilliant.
It's what's his name, isn't it? David Bowie's son, who directed it.
Yes.
I can't think of his name.
Yeah.
Duncan Jones.
Duncan Jones, yeah, that's it, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
He did, what was it? What was the one he did with, what was the follow-up that he did to Moon?
The Sun?
What was the follow-up that he did? I'm trying to think of the follow-up that Duncan Jones did to Moon, another sci-fi film.
Oh, I can't think now. Might have to.
Listeners, this is the sound of us
that.
all going to IMDb to see who can find it
Yeah,
first.
that's it. Oh, Source Code, it was. Don't know if you've
He
seen
did
that.
Source Code, did he?
Yeah, he did.
I like Source Code.
I
Yeah.
like that.
And Warcraft. Forget about that.
Everybody forgets about that. And it should be forgotten from the annals of history. Nimrod Hicks emails in. Hi guys, not too controversial this, but my director of choice is Stanley Kubrick. We're getting a lot of love for Kubrick in tonight. Shifting from one of the great comedies in Doctor Strangelove through to one of the great sci-fi movies in 2001 A Space Odyssey, to one of the best horrors in The Shining, to my personal favourite, one of the finest war movies in Full Metal Jacket. Much of Full Metal Jacket was filmed on the Isle of Dogs, but still looks like a convincing theatre of war.
And London Dockyard as well.
Yeah, I believed he could do anything. Then, however, Eyes Wide Shut came out. Shame. Keep up the good work. Love to all, Nimrod Hicks. Is Eyes Wide Shut that bad? I mean, I haven't heard good things about it, but...
Was it that sort of... Didn't he die during the filming of that?
That or close after it or something.
Yeah.
I think I started
Can't
watching
really
it once and then never bothered finishing it and never gone back. There's a lot of Kubrick that I haven't seen, if I'm being honest, but 2001 is amazing. Like the scenes on the space station it's just they look fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They set the precedent really basically for movies in space, didn't they? It was so far back then, and there's still a lot of people copying what he did.
Deadbeat Punk. He's emailed again, but not as long as the last time. Hello again, modest escalopes. I'll be brief in round 2. Luc Besson. This man is the contrast of cinema. I caught Leon as a young punk and was enamored with the entire movie. I loved how it was shot, the character interaction, locations, the story. I was far too young to watch it, but it was the first movie that really caught my attention. It's a hell of a movie to watch when you're young. Of course, once I found the director's name, I rented out several of his other movies. Fifth Element, Big Blue, Nikita, Subway, Extravision had quite the collection of his hits. Then I stumbled upon a little site called IMDb and looked up the filmography. Christ alive, for each gem he's made, he has curled out some cinematic movements. As a writer and director, he has punished us with the Taxi franchise, Fan, and Messenger, a really strange take on Joan of Arc. Cherry pick the nuggets of gold, flush the rest. Some high lows, some high highs, and some low lows. No women, no kids. That's the rule.
So I have a real soft spot for the Big Blue.
I haven't seen the Big Blue, actually.
It's a really nice, sad, heartwarming tale. That's all I will say. Check it out.
Did he direct Taxi? I quite like that film. The first one. I've not seen the others. Or the remake.
No.
I think he did.
The one thing that I think really pulls Luc Besson down and really kind of drags him and grinds him into the ground was Valerian. Because my God, like the man who made The Fifth Element, which I adore with every fibre of my being, I love that film. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's a gorgeous looking film. And a load of actors on fine form. How could he go from making that in the 90s to making Valerian in 2017? Valerian was dreadful. Oh God, it was so bad. It tried to do the Fifth Element thing of being this gorgeous, lush science fiction film, which is visually it achieves, like it looks beautiful. But he seemed to cast blocks of wood in place of actors. Like, I don't know why people keep casting Cara Delevingne in films. But yeah, God, that film was so bad. I hate it. And it really ruined my perception of Luc Besson.
I think as a director, he's not really done anything great as a director since The Fifth Element. He's obviously worked, produced, and written stuff, been part of some things, but just looking at his IMDb, yeah, just as a director, solely director, I think Fifth Element's like, that's the last good thing he did, and that was yonks ago.
Yeah, but in Fifth Element, who was the black comedian in that movie?
Chris Tucker.
Oh, he nearly ruined that movie for me, I have to say. His performance in
Ruby
that.
Rod's amazing.
Oh, it drives me insane. Just really over the top. Just really bugged me when I watched that movie. I don't know why, because I like him in other stuff. But
Wasn't that the point of the character, though? He was supposed to be over the top. He was supposed to get on Bruce Willis's nerves.
oh, it got on my nerves.
No, I loved Ruby Rod. I think it's one of Chris Tucker's finest performances.
Yeah, I succeeded.
Ooh, nerves touched. John Lister, Smashiest Clay, writes in, "Afternoon, gents. I'm someone who also loves to regularly rewatch the Lord of the Rings trilogy, especially around Christmas. I was very disappointed with the Hobbit films, mostly because they felt so stretched thin and diluted. Making a single short book into 3 films was a terrible decision. Last year I found a cut-down version that condenses the trilogy into a single movie and removes almost all the extraneous nonsense. It doesn't bring it back to the level of the original trilogy, but it's a marked improvement. The version I have is called There and Back Again, and found via Reddit. But my favourite director is probably Guillermo del Toro. While I think there's directors that have made better films, del Toro has consistently made films that are always interesting, and his distinctive visual style and focus on production design means I trust anything that he makes will be worth watching. I love his habit of alternating between big-budget action movies and smaller arty fare. The same director that made The Shape of Water and Pan's Labyrinth also made Blade 2 and Pacific Rim. Yeah, I'll go with Del Toro.
Yeah.
I love his work.
Big fan of Hellboy.
Have you seen The Devil's Backbone?
Yes.
Yes.
That's outstanding.
Yeah.
Yes, it absolutely is. Even going back to like his really early work, like Kronos.
Yes.
It's fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
But I mean, Pan's Labyrinth might be one of the best looking fantasy films I've ever
Yeah,
seen.
it
It's
was
so
good.
great. He's just got such a great mind, doesn't he? For thinking up weird and wonderful
Weird shit.
things, yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm
Also like
sad because you won't see Silent Hills.
Oh yeah, I know. But I always like as well in his films that maybe take Pacific Rim out of it, but he relies a lot on physical props and physical effects.
Yeah.
Like when you think like if you go back to like Pan's Labyrinth and like some of the most horrific scenes in that were guys in suits, you know? They weren't CGI monsters in it.
Well, Hellboy's like that, isn't it?
Yeah, Hellboy's
Majority
like,
of it, not the actual. Those little things they were chasing around for. That was CGI, but everything else I think in it was good.
Yeah, there's some stuff which would be impossible to do with real world physics, especially when it comes to those kind of monsters. But yeah, like the fact that they could have CGI'd so much of Ron Perlman, but they didn't. Whereas when they did the David Harbour one, I think there was a fair bit of Hellboy himself that was CGI just to make it easier on him and stuff like that. It's like everything. I mean, that's also like the difference of like 15 years between making the films, but. Yeah, the Hellboy films look great, and everything looked real and chunky, and like translated the comic book really well into physical space. Oh, so good. Del Toro is like a master at that kind of thing. Last up, we have Kurt Lewin at Angry Kurt on the emails. He's sorry for his late reply because he got this in as we were starting to record. He's getting later and later.
Bad boy.
But he's saying my favourite director would have to go to David Fincher. Even though he hasn't directed my favourite film, Whiplash, he has directed many that make my top 10, including Seven, Gone Girl, the Mindhunter TV show, and my favourite film of his, Fight Club. My mind was blown the first time I watched Fight Club, and even though some people like to deride it these days, I still think it's a banging film and very thought-provoking. Given my love for Whiplash and La La Land, I would say that Damien Chazelle comes in a close second, but Fincher pinches it. That's a hell of a thing to say. Fincher pinches it because Chazelle has only done 3 films, and a mediocre TV show, and his other film, First Man, whilst good, I did not feel was anywhere near as good as Whiplash and La La Land. Fincher might have some less than stellar films too, but I haven't seen them yet. I like David Fincher.
I think he's great.
Seven.
Yeah.
Just, I love that movie so much. Dark as fuck, but amazing movie.
And he's right with
That's a
Damien
blind spot for
Chazelle.
me.
Who's that, sorry?
So, Seven is a blind spot for me. It's one of those films
it's
that
so good.
You haven't seen
I
it?
know.
Oh.
No, I ain't seen it. No.
Oh, mate.
That takes precedent over Gremlins.
Gremlins.
That
Yeah,
Seven.
yeah.
So good. Seriously, you should watch it. It's brilliant.
Oh, to watch that movie again
Yeah.
without knowing what's going to happen. Ooh, boy.
I will add it to my list of things to watch. I mean, the thing is, people have talked about David Fincher on this podcast. No one's really mentioned Alien 3. Very good reason.
Yeah, they all, like I said, even the greats have their off day.
And it was his first film. He was practicing.
Yeah, practice run.
Yeah. Absolutely. What were you about to say there about Damien Chazelle there, Stig?
I just agree with Kurt. I think he's got a bright future. I think Whiplash is amazing. I really enjoyed La La Land. And actually, Kurt wasn't as big on it, but I think First Man's brilliant as well. And Oodles really likes First Man. I know that as well. But I'm really looking forward to seeing what he has to bring to the table in the future, because he's very young as well. So got a long career ahead of him.
It's astonishing that he's done 3 films and 2 of them have been Whiplash and La La Land.
Yep.
Because La La
I
Land
haven't
won
seen
best.
Whiplash yet.
La La Land won Best Oscar, didn't it?
No.
Did it? Best film, sorry.
No.
Or Best Musical.
It got called wrong.
It nearly
It was
did.
the one that got called wrong. Right.
Right.
It was actually Moonlight that won, but they called La La Land by mistake. It did win.
Right.
It
Okay.
won a bunch of other awards though. It won 6
Yeah.
other Oscars, so it's it did all right.
And Whiplash won a couple as well, I think, because didn't J.K. Simmons get one for Best Supporting or something?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Won 3
So it's
Oscars. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's done 3 films and he's got several Oscars between them. That's a hell of a
Not
start
bad,
to
eh?
a career. Yeah.
Yep.
It's how's he going to top it? Is he going to do a full sweep of the Oscars one year?
First Man won an Oscar as well.
Oh, he
Yeah.
did as well. Okay, so he's 3 for 3.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, but that's it. That's the end of the Inquisition. It's been a bumper week this week.
Thank
Thank
you
you
very
everyone
much.
for getting in touch. That's been marvellous.
Yeah, thank you, Gadget. So, finally, here's Stig with our release schedule. It's the socials.
Yeah, so you can find us on Twitter at Modern Escapism. On there, you'll find a link to all of our episodes, other socials, and Discord. We'd really love people to come and join our Discord because it's a great little community we've got going on in there now. If you have any comments, you can either tweet us or email us at modernescapism@gmail.com. And we've also got a streaming schedule going on at twitch.tv/modernescapism. Tomorrow, Gadget is roping some salty sea dogs together in our first monthly group stream, and we're going to be taken to the water with Sea of Thieves.
Yes,
And then
we are.
Saturday, Oodles is back underwater as he continues his quest through Bioshock for the first time. Monday, Biggie dies. Watch Biggie continue to play through Dark Souls for the first time. And then Wednesday, Gadget is going to continue to be surprised by mimics with Prey. So if you
Yes.
enjoy gaming streams, we've got a whole lot of them going on, so please drop by on Twitch. And finally, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast, because I know we joke about this and say leave us 5 stars because that's all we want, but 5-star reviews really helps us get noticed as well. It isn't just a silly little joke we make. The more 5-star reviews we get, the more people notice us, the more listeners we have, and the more great content that we can pump out for you listeners. So yeah, we'd really love a 5-star review.
If you don't do it, we'll release the extended cut of Crystal Skulls.
There's that too.
Oh, God, that's a crime against humanity, that.
So yeah, thank you very much. All that's left for me is to thank Doomy, Gadget, and Stig for this pod, and we're off to the rap party. That's a cut.
Cast out upon Twitter and asked who your favourite directors are. It was a pretty simple question, and as usual, when we put out a pretty simple question, we got a lot of answers. We like it. Actually, no, I'm going to start that again because that sounds really insulting towards the audience.
Please keep that in.
Leave it in, yeah. Keep them grounded. Keep them grounded.
Grounded.